welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to make baby girl dress with collar and a puff sleeve. I have my fabric here. I will be cutting the front and the back part of my fabric together. So I've gone ahead to measure my shoulder divided by 2, and I've gone ahead to mark it. And I'm going to rule my armhole line. So the same measurement I use for my shoulder is what I'm going to use for my armhole line. I'll roll it down to my chest line, and I'm going to be using neck width of 2.5 inches and neck depth of 2.5 inches for the front and 1 inch for the back. So I'll go ahead and slope my shoulder with 0.5 inches, mark it, then I'm going to divide what we have on our armhole line into 2, get the midpoint, and I'll mark it. I'll come in by 0.25 and measure my chest circumference divided by 4, mark it, and I'll connect my front and back armhole. And I will also measure my waist circumference divided by 4, mark it, and add 2 inches allowance. So after I was done measuring, I'll cut out the back neckline. Then I'll separate it. I will cut out the front neckline on the front part only. I'll also cut out the back armhole first, separate it, and cut out my front armhole. So after that, I'll cut out my lining piece off camera and bring it for you to see. So I've cut it out, and I'm going to set my lining piece aside, measure my front armhole line and my back armhole line. I'm going to add it up for our sleeve. So I have this paper here, and I'm going to have to measure my desired length, and also have enough for my biceps. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down from the upper part by 3 inches. Notice that the paper is on fold. Then I'm going to connect it to the upper part. And I'm going to be marking where I'll be working with. I'll mark it from the upper part to the down part. So after doing that, I'm going to form our sleeve cap. If you are comfortable with cutting a basic sleeve, you won't find this difficult because that is exactly what I am doing. I'm drafting a basic sleeve, but if you are not conversant with it, please pay rapt attention. So I'll measure my biceps divided by 2, and I'll add just 1 inch is allowance to it, and measure the down part as well and mark. After that, I'll cut it out. So after cutting it out, we're going to open it up, mark the center line, then divide it, mark it up to the upper part, then we are going to slash it and spread it on our main fabric. I was done slashing, I spread it on my main fabric. So I made my spread with 2 inches, and after that I'm going to unpin my papers and I'll set it aside, and I'll bring in my half length. I'll join my half length with my lining piece and turn all the sides, and also sew all my lines, and I'll join the half length shoulder with the back shoulder, and I also made a pleat on the waistline. Please pardon my voice, it's cold. So like I was saying, I've done all this side with my lining. I closed my zipper allowance with half and loose stitch, and I made a pleat on my front waistline. So I cut out a long strip about times 2 of my waist circumference, and I cut it 2 inches on fold, and I turn one side, iron it flat and pleated it and fix it on my front half length. So I wanted to sew my belt as well, and I'll go ahead and mark where I'll be attaching my belt. Once I'm done that, I'm going to bring in my skirt part of the dress. On my skirt part, I added my my hand net to my skirt part directly. This is because I want a very fluffy look, and I'm also going to turn it with my lining piece once I'm done joining to my half length. So I'm going to bring it in and show you how it look like, and I've gone ahead to pleat my waistline, my skirt part. Okay, so if you don't know how to cut your skirt part, you are going to subtract your half length from the length of your dress. So after that, you're going to measure your waist circumference and multiply whatever you get by 3 or 2 depending on the quantity of fabric you have. Then you use it and get the skirt part of your dress. So this is for our beginners who may not know how to do that. So this is it. I'm going to attach it to our half length. So I went ahead to also gather my sleeve, and once I was done gathering it, I also cut out a cuff. So I'm going to be attaching a cuff to this gathered side. So my cuff is 3 inches on fold. I'm making use of 0.5 inches for my join allowance, so I'll be left with 2.5 inches at the end. So I'm going to go ahead to attach my cuff to my gather sleeve and attach it to my dress, attach the skirt part of my dress, and I'll bring it back to show you what we have. So here I was done attaching my skirt part and my sleeve, and it's looking very fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is to divide my neckline and fold my neckline into two, notch the midpoint and measure it. Whatever value I get is what we are going to be using for our collar. So I measured it and I have 8.5 inches, and that is what I'll be using. So I'm going to bring in the paper we're going to be using to cut our collar, and I'm going to place the paper and assume that it is on fold, and I'm going to measure that 8.5 inches on our paper. So it means that this paper is on fold. I measure 8.5 inches for the length and 1.5 inches for the wideness of the first part of our collar. I'm going to roll it into a rectangular form. Next, I'm going to divide that 8.5 inches into two, mark the midpoint. Then on the part that is going to be our center back, I will come in by 1 inch and also come down by 0.2 and 0.5 inches to get our our curve for the center back of our collar. So after I was done with the curve, I'll go ahead and mark where I'm be drafting the collar stand. So I am going to go ahead and mark it up there. After marking it, I'm going to rule it into a straight line, then come in by 1 inch and mark it. When I'm done marking the 1 inch, I'm going to subtract 1 inch from our 8.5 inches, okay? Then we'll be left with 7.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and divide that 7.5 inches into 2, so it will be 3.75, and I'm going to mark that 3.75 starting from the 1 inch mark that I made. So after that, I will rule it out in a smaller rectangle, and I'm going to go out at the upper part by 0.5 inches and come out from the folded part by 0.5 inches. So the 0.5 inches that I'll be coming out from the folded part, we are not going to be making use of it. So at the end, I'm still going to cut out that 0.5 inches so that I'll have a straight point there, I'll have a straight line there, because that is exactly where I'm going to be placing on the folded part of my fabric when I'll be cutting on my main fabric. So after that, I'm going to label this smaller rectangle times 4 and label the first part of our collar, the longest part, times 2. So that means that we're going to be cutting the collar stand, 4 of it, 2 for our main fabric and 2 for lining piece. And I'll cut the smaller part of our collar into 2, 1 for our main fabric and 1 for our lining piece. So I go ahead and make one side of this collar stand to be straight, because I'm going to do that off camera when I'll be cutting on my main fabric. So the part you made straight is the part you're going to be placing on the folded part of your fabric. So after cutting it on my fabric, I'm going to add my collar gum to my lining piece, okay? So after that, I'm going to turn the downside and the right side and the left side, both edges. Then I'll bring it to show you. So I've gone ahead to sew the first 2 pieces and the second 2 pieces of our collar stand, okay? And the longest part of our collar, I went ahead to notch the midpoint. So I'm going to be placing the shorter one on my lining piece on the wrong side of my lining piece. Notice that I also added my collar gum on the lining piece of the longer part of my collar. So I'll place the shorter one starting from the notched center point, right side of the smaller one facing the wrong side of the longer one. I'll pin it down, and I'll do that to the second one. From the other edge, I'll pin it down, right side facing the wrong side of the longer one. After pinning down, I'll bring the main fabric of the longer one, place it at the back, sew it and flip it inwards. So please watch carefully. I know you understand. So I was done joining, and I'm going to trim off the excess part of the allowance so that I will not have a bulky effect there. Once I'm done doing that, I'm going to flip it inside out for us to see how it looks, and I'm going to give it a good press. And after that, I'm going to attach it to my dress, the neck part of my dress. So before I attach it, I went ahead to mark out my zipper allowance on both sides of my center back of my dress, because I don't want to attach my collar to the zipper allowance. So I mark the zipper allowance and attach my collar just before the zipper allowance. So I will do that and I'll show you what we have. So I'm gonna to attach it, and I'm here to put my zipper because I want to show you how I did. I left my zipper allowance just the way it is and attach my collar just before the zipper allowance. So I'll go ahead and put my zipper, and I'll still bring it back for us to see. When I had to attach my zipper, and my dress is looking so beautiful. Like, I love the goodness of this dress, and I also went ahead to pin it with my pins, so that I will use my hand needle and tack it at that point where I pin it. And that is all for this dress. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for our next tutorial. Bye.
Upstream, are you with me? Round up, rainbow, color in the city, rushing through me. Downpour, upstream, are you with me? Feel it. Rainbow, color in the city, rushing through me. Downpour, upstream, are you with me? Rainbow, color in the city, rushing